Well, now we're going back to the Commons chamber and to Mark Mardell for more on the vote on Sunday shopping.
Well, it's quite extraordinary scenes that we're expecting the result of the particular vote on Keep Sunday Special option about a quarter of an hour ago. But what happened was that it seemed that one of the doors hadn't been locked. So that meant that MPs arriving late for that particular option had an unfair advantage. So somebody protested and the whole vote had to be gone through all over again. We are now expecting the result fairly soon, but it won't be for a few minutes yet. If this vote doesn't get a majority, then we move on to yet another one, the compromise motion, which most people think has the biggest chance of success.
Well, thank you, Mark. We'll go back to that later in the programme, but we're about to get a result from the House of Commons on Sunday trading, so we're going back in just a minute to the Commons for the vote. Until tonight, everyone had agreed the present law, which allows you to buy a pornographic magazine on Sunday, but not a Bible, needed reform. But Lady Thatcher's government received one of its rare defeats when it tried to deregulate. Tonight, Mr Major's government has had another go, and MPs have had a free vote. We're going over now to Mark Mardell in the Commons.
Now what has happened, we've just had the announcement of the vote on the partial deregulation, which has won. The ayes were 333, the noes 258, a majority, I think, of 75. So that means that what we had earlier this evening, we had the preferred option of Mr Major and the majority of the Cabinet, which was total deregulation. All shops could open for as long as they liked on Sunday. That was thrown out by a very large majority. Then we had the Keep Sunday Special option, which they voted on twice. That was defeated by 18, a very narrow majority. Now, that was quite extraordinary. We had this scene with people putting on the top hat and saying that they hadn't had a chance to vote because one of the doors was closed too soon. So we had quite an unusual scene there, meaning a second vote on that. Now, had that gone through, that would have meant that no big stores, except in the run-up to Christmas, could have opened at all, and that smaller stores would have been restricted to what they could sell on Sundays. But that went down by a very narrow majority, and now the packed House has just voted on this partial deregulation. That means big stores restricted to 6 hours opening, small stores can do what they like on a Sunday, and there's a fifth option which now isn't going to be put. That was Simon Hughes about local authorities deciding. Although in one technical sense this is a defeat perhaps for John Major, because the thing that he wanted isn't going to get through. I think all along the government knew in their hearts this would be the position. This, if you like, is the establishment position. Most of the modernisers, most of the front bench of the Labour Party wanted this, and also most of the Cabinet, although it wasn't their preferred option, secretly thought that this was what was going to happen. Back to you in the studio, Sue.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. Well, Gordon Brewer now examines why the issue of Sunday shopping has caused feelings to run so high.
The peace and tranquility of an English Sunday. It's an image coded into our national consciousness, and you don't have to be religious for these scenes to strike a chord. For many of us, the quiet of the Sabbath symbolises childhood, time spent with relatives, a sense of togetherness away from the hostile world of work, precisely the sort of family values espoused by John Major. When the same John Major backs a bill to open up Sunday to the unfettered forces of capitalism, traditionalists here at Wallingford in Oxfordshire feel betrayed.
The Church is saying to the state, there's a moral issue here. We want to uphold family values. This is what we're constantly being told. And to take away the opportunities for the family to get together, to assemble around the table on Sunday, will, in my view, weaken the family, will reduce the opportunities the family has to be together.
It's the late 1940s and the 1950s which provide many of us with our prototype Sunday. The passions aroused by the debate over Sunday shopping are deeper than the arguments about working hours and employee protection. They seem to strike at our very sense of order. Perhaps, just as in those bygone days, all of us, Christians and non-Christians alike, need rules and restrictions.
There must be certain disciplines in life. I think very often freedom turns into license. And if there is a surfeit of it, we may well lose the controls and the disciplines that make the difference between civilized life and primitive life.
But tradition is not always on the side of the traditionalists. As late as the mid-19th century, London on a Sunday was like a fairground. To the horror of the clergy, restrictions on trading were ignored. When Parliament tried to tighten them up and to ban public transport on a Sunday, it was widely seen by the populace as an upper-class plot.
It seemed to the working people, as I think very rightly, ridiculous that the Act of Parliament should forbid them to go on their Sunday outing on a bus, while nobody stopped Lord Shaftesbury going in a hansom carriage wherever he liked.
Some among the lower orders, especially those who actually worked on a Sunday, were in favour of restrictions. But for the great majority of working people, family values meant the freedom to do what they liked on their day off. The proposed trading laws were defeated on a Sunday afternoon in 1855 when 150,000 people rioted in Hyde Park, barracking the gentry in their carriages with shouts of, "Why do you let your servants work on a Sunday?" They armed themselves with staves and attacked the authorities. 49 policemen were injured and 71 people were arrested. Since then, there's been a curious reversal of roles. In today's debate in Parliament, it was the government which was in favour of liberalising Sundays, and the workers' representatives in the trades unions and the Labour Party who ganged up with the churches to oppose it.
Anybody has any reservations about protection for workers' right not to work on Sunday, they should vote for the Keep Sunday Special.
But do our representatives today have any more idea than their forebears in the 19th century of exactly what Sunday means to the people? Shops have been trading in England on Sundays in violation of the law because people want to go there and buy things. And many who do don't see themselves as deserting tradition. They see Sunday shopping as an important family value in the late 20th century.
I think you can go shopping together. I think you can discuss home alterations at the DIY place together. I think you can go out with the children to a hamburger place or a pizza parlour. And all these things are a way of being together. You don't have to be stuck rather claustrophobically confined to your own four walls in order to make Sunday different or in order to make Sunday an enjoyable day for the family.
Having a day broadly in common, in which you can tell by just moving out into the open that this day is a distinct day, that there is something in us more than making money, than slaving away, that there is a dimension of the human experience that also requires nourishment, not in the form in which we have it on 6 days. I think it would make a great deal of difference to the fibre of the nation.
The old-fashioned English Sunday may be headed for oblivion, a victim of changes in society rather than parliamentary debates. But all is not lost. In its place will be another of Britain's great national traditions, nostalgia for a half-remembered rural past.
Gordon Brewer reporting. Well, I'm joined now by the Right Reverend John Taylor, the Bishop of St Albans, and by David Cornby, the Joint Managing Director of Sainsbury's. And just to remind you of the result, the Keep Sunday Special option was defeated by 18, total deregulation was defeated by a majority of 230, and the compromise solution, which will let big stores open for 6 hours and little shops open for as long as they like, was won by a majority of 75. Bishop, it's not the outcome that you wanted. What's your reaction to that vote?
It's a very sad day for this country, and I'm deeply disappointed by the result. It's not a compromise version that has come through. It is in fact virtual deregulation, because the people who wanted deregulation have got very nearly everything they wanted. And in my judgment, this is a case of David being defeated by Goliath, because David were the small people, the Christian people, the people who worked in the shops, the people who are concerned for their livelihoods and for their environment, and they've been defeated by the powers of, I won't say darkness, but by the big stores, by the people with money, by the thousands and thousands of pounds, by the people who could take full-page spreads in the newspapers to advertise their arguments, by the people who've already driven a coach and horses through the law and have been breaking the law for the past 12 months. And for that reason, quite apart from the result, I say it's a sad day.
David Cornby, as the representative not perhaps of the forces of darkness, but certainly of the big battalions, what's your reaction to the result and also to what the Bishop has said?
Well, firstly to the result, I think the main people who will benefit from this are the millions of people who already shop on Sundays and will be able to go on doing so because it's what suits them and their lifestyles. I should make it clear that I don't believe that the pattern of shop opening on Sunday will actually change very much compared with how it is now when the bill passes into law. I don't think we're going to see massive opening of the high street. We haven't in Scotland, and Scotland has never been regulated, and we don't see that in Ireland, where there's no regulation either. I think the Bishop's fears about how it's all going to be are unfounded. I myself hope they are unfounded. I don't think we will see a total change from where we are now in how Sundays are. I think we will see the sort of shop opening that we've got at the moment, and I think that will meet the needs of most people who want to go on shopping on a Sunday. And it does, I believe, now settle the matter permanently once and for all. It's a long-term solution.
Bishop, doesn't David Cornby have a point that in Scotland and in Ireland and in other European countries, Sunday is still different to other days in the week, even though Sunday shopping is permitted?
I'm very thankful it is, and I still hope that that will be the case in this country, but I'm very fearful because shoppers, or at least the big stores, are so competitive in this country. The major stores, Sainsbury's and their competitors, are all after everybody's money. They'll be working hard at this. They see this as an opportunity they've been fighting for and lobbying for, and now they have got it. I fear that they will put all their eggs into the Sunday basket, and it will really mean that for many people, especially those who live near high streets, those who live near the car parks that are used by the shoppers, they will find life intolerable on Sunday, as intolerable as it is on a Saturday.
Is it not the case, though, that polls have repeated, you said that it was like Goliath defeating David, but polls have repeatedly shown that a majority of people do want to have the option of shopping on Sunday?
Oh, they like to be able to do that, but actually it is at the cost to other people, and I worry for the people who are suffering the cost, which are the people who live near the high street, the people who live near the big stores, the people who have to look after parking regulations, the police, the traffic wardens, as well as the people who work in the shops, because even though they talk in terms of employee protection, I find that very doubtful, and I wonder whether the employees will be protected as fully as the government is professing that they will.
David Cornby, what about this question of the quality of life? I've heard quite a few people just in the last fortnight saying, my godfathers, this is awful. Admittedly, it's just before Christmas, but people moaning in particular about traffic on a Sunday.
Well, I think it comes back to a question of choice. In this country today, there is a massive diversity of lifestyles and the way people organise themselves. I visit our stores on Sundays and I talk to the staff and I talk to customers, and they are not under pressure. They welcome the opportunity, those particular people who shop on a Sunday, to go and do so at a time when the store's a bit quieter, when there isn't the same pressure on their own lives. I don't believe that their life is being badly affected by this. It's something they're doing out of their own choice, because it's what they want to do.
You've talked about lack of pressure. Isn't there a very real danger in real life that people are going to be pressurised into working on a Sunday, even when they don't really want to?
Let's just deal with this working point. Ever since we in Sainsbury's started opening our supermarkets on Sundays, and that's nearly 2 years ago now, we have had a very clear, very visible and very public policy that it is voluntary. It has been voluntary, it will be voluntary in the future, even if the government had not, in its wisdom, and rightly in my view, introduced into this bill a proposal that both existing and future workers should not be required to work on a Sunday. That is a policy that we would have carried on anyway as a matter of company policy. And this is so for all the other major retailers who support the 6-hour option. And you can talk to any of our staff and they will tell you they are working there because they want to. We don't need huge numbers of people. So for difficulty manning the stores then.
Bishop, we're hearing from Mark Mardell that there is talk in the Commons of the Keep Sunday Special lobby carrying on fighting. Will you carry on fighting for the law to be changed?
I'll carry on praying, and I'll carry on doing everything I can to ensure that whatever happens in the high street, at least God's name will be upheld and the churches will go on doing their work as best they may, and I hope that there'll be a good spirit of cooperation from Sainsbury's and from Tesco's and from all the other people, and they will make life as easy as possible for us in the churches. They will make life as easy as possible for the people who otherwise are being hurt by the decision of the House of Commons today.
Bishop, Mr. Cornby, thank you very much.
Thank you.